Out here, folks will tell you the woods keep secrets longer than any grave. And if you ever doubt it, just ask Zaria Coleman. She's the kind of woman the county never counted on. Black, stubborn, with roots dug as deep as the pines and a heart too scarred to scare easy. And that's why the night a man in a badge tried to make her disappear, the world changed, and no one who saw it forgot what real reckoning looks like. You know what I mean? That's how it starts. A hard hook and a harder truth. They dragged her from her own land, chained her in the dark, and tossed her in front of a caged wild boar, expecting blood. But that's the thing about hunting creatures with nothing left to lose. Sometimes the prey's got a bigger bite than the predator. And sometimes the land itself decides enough is enough. Dawn in Georgia creeps up slow and restless. Zaria woke to the old ache, her hands rough from farming, her back bent from loss, her spirit wound tight like barbed wire after all those years of fighting to keep the farm her late husband built from nothing but sweat, spit, and borrowed hope. She wasn't always a farmer. She'd been a scientist once, running tests in the city, but when her man died and the city spit her out, she came back to the woods, traded lab coats for mud-caked boots and city noise for the hush of pine needles, thinking maybe out here, a black woman could just work, just be. But you learn quick in the South. Loneliness is louder when you're not welcome, and every fence, every field, is a line someone will try to move. That morning, walking her fields, Zaria found something off, a patch of blood in the moss, fresh tire tracks where no truck should be, stumps hacked ugly from the old oak she loved. Her gut told her what her head tried to deny. Somebody was sending a message, not just trespassing. Threatening that it was later, while she was gathering eggs, that the world turned. Her goat pen was busted open, muddy boot prints bigger than hers, and silence so thick it rang in her ears. She locked every door, checked her old .22 rifle, and jumped when the porch knocked hard. Old man Willis, white beard, bent back, eyes like storm clouds, stood there. He didn't say much, but his words cut sharp. "You watch your back, Miss Coleman. Out here, a black woman ain't worth the warning a dog gets." That night, sleep wouldn't come. Every creak was a threat, every shadow a memory of trouble. At dawn, a Forest Service truck idled at her driveway. Grayson Mott leaning on the hood, pressed uniform, mirrored sunglasses, and a smirk made for breaking spirits. "Got a minute to talk about your little operation?" He called loud enough for the neighbors to hear. He waved paperwork, claimed she'd fenced in a quarter-acre of government land. But his voice told the truth. He didn't care about boundaries. He cared about control. He tried to bully her, called her just passing through, spat venom about city folks with charity degrees, and made it clear he wanted her gone. Zaria didn't flinch. "You got a warrant, officer, or just a lot of opinions?" she said. But Mott had something more dangerous, authority backed by a county full of folks willing to look away. He promised he'd be back. And he was, but he brought hell with him. The next time was deep in the night. Power lines cut. Phone dead. Mott and two deputies busted through her door, dragged her outside, laughing as they shoved her down in the mud behind the goat shed. That's where she saw the cage, a wild boar, massive and wounded, the same one she'd nursed back to health as a runt. Family reunion. Mott sneered, unlocking the cage, and that's when Zaria knew. This was never about land. It was about breaking her, but sometimes mercy outlasts hate. She locked eyes with Bruno, the boar, whispering, "Run. I'm not the one who hurt you." The men jeered, betting on blood. Mott shoved her, the beast charged, and then, against every law of nature, Bruno stopped. He turned on Mott, all that pain and fury unleashed. The deputies ran screaming. Mott fell, screaming, begging for mercy as the animal he'd abused became the judge and the sentence. Zaria broke free, hands raw and bleeding, and spat at Mott's feet. "This is what men like you make. Hate. Monsters. You brought this on yourself." She called Bruno off. Enough was enough. But as she limped into the woods, darkness pressing close, the real danger slithered up behind her. The truth that monsters wear uniforms, and they don't always run from the light. The woods hid her, but didn't heal her. She stumbled onto an old ranger's cabin, thinking she'd find shelter, But what she found was worse. Evidence, piles of it, maps and files. A conspiracy reaching from her little farm all the way to county offices and timber companies. That's when another deputy, Hollis, found her, gun drawn, hands shaking. But Zaria showed him what they'd buried. Proof of stolen land, threats, and bribes. Hollis broke, scared but desperate. He promised to help her take it public if she could get him out clean. Before they could run, Mott cornered them. Hollis almost sold Zaria out, handing over the folder, but it was a trick, a moment of courage or guilt. It didn't matter. Bruno surged from the shadows. The fight exploded, bullets flying. And in the chaos, Hollis shot Mott, ended the threat, but not the war. Bruno took a bullet, too, and Zaria's grief nearly drowned her, but she held on, gathered the evidence, and made a run for it, knowing the sun would bring no safety. She made it home, barn burning behind her, neighbors standing silent, watching her world catch fire. But in the ashes, she found one last gift from her husband, an old hard drive, full of names, payments, and audio confession. She played it, tears streaming as his voice warned her, "Don't trust anyone from the county. Go higher. Go public. Don't let my death be the end." That night, as her sanctuary burned, Zaria understood. This fight was never just hers. It belonged to everyone who ever lost something to silence. With Willis's help, she found Karen Myers, a reporter with nothing left to lose. She told her story, handed over the evidence, and watched as the world caught fire, not with hate, but with truth. The broadcast went national, headlines screaming, phones ringing, marches filling courthouse steps. But the darkness fought back, arsonists torching what she rebuilt, men in trucks hunting her through the woods. But this time, Zaria didn't run. She planted her feet, dragged the county's crimes into the sun, and stood while the world watched. She was not just a victim. She was a survivor, a witness. The trial that followed was chaos. Cameras, protests, neighbors confessing old wounds, the powerful finally facing justice. Mott, Riek, the timber execs, all guilty. The crowd outside wept and cheered, strangers hugged, and Zaria stood at the center, knowing it wasn't over, but that the circle of silence had broken at last. The governor called for investigations. Neighbors, once silent, brought seedlings and casseroles to rebuild what was lost in time. Zaria's land became the Coleman Sanctuary, a place for children to learn, for neighbors to heal, for wild things and wounded people to find a home. She taught the next generation to plant trees and speak truth, to never be afraid of standing up for what's right, no matter how loud the world tries to shout you down. Even Bruno, scarred and famous, became a living legend, a symbol that loyalty and wildness, pain and hope, can grow together. When the community gathered for the dedication, Zaria stood under a new sign, surrounded by old friends and new ones. She spoke not of revenge, but of roots. How you can burn a barn, but you can't kill a story, not if enough people are willing to remember. As the choir sang and dusk fell, she looked around and knew this wasn't a happy ending, just a new beginning. Justice isn't a verdict. It's a circle, a promise that if you stand together, if you keep speaking, keep planting, even on scarred earth, hope will take root. So, what would you do if your community was on the line? Would you fight, run, or plant something that outlives the fire? Drop your story below. Let's see who's ready to turn pain into legacy. If Zaria's fight moved you, share this story, because justice isn't just for the powerful, it's for everyone who refuses to be erased.